It's hard writing up here. This is very hard. A checklist. I never thought about giving anybody a checklist. Could
Hmm.
work. I mean, I'm open. I'm open.
I
I
like
don't
it
have
because it's a quick read. You know, people are pressed for time.
to. Jessica, you're right. I cannot deny that. I cannot deny that. I bought this house, and we're gonna tear it down.
Wow, that's exciting.
It is. It is. So I got
Yeah,
a video. Huh?
you better hope that you tear it down fast if you've got no insurance on it.
Well, my thing is, if it burns down, I got less stuff to take away. Do I
Right, you don't care
care?
about that. You're worried about somebody getting hurt. You
Yes.
know.
So I
Yeah,
got insurance on it today. So that's why
yeah,
when I bought it, I'm like, man, I'm sick of, not that it's a lot of money, but these insurance companies get so much money
yeah,
out of me.
yeah. You don't need hazard insurance. You just need the liability coverage. Shouldn't be much.
But I guess I'm covered with my umbrella on that, right? I don't know.
I was just gonna say they can throw that onto the umbrella. You just got to let them know.
These fools. So do you even need insurance? I mean, if it burns down,
You don't need right. You don't need insurance to protect your investment.
yeah,
You just need insurance to protect your liability.
no doubt, no
Some,
doubt.
like somebody trespassing and gets injured, they can even still sue you.
I know.
Yeah. Right.
You're right. Jessica Segal, I am honored to be in your presence, my friend.
Hello there. Happy Friday.
Oh, my, your favorite day of the
See my face light up? It's Friday. Yeah, I know.
Round up family. Round up family. Welcome to another Attorney Time with Jay Siegel. We are honored to be with you. Thank you for allowing us to pour, to give, to give. I'm Chris Haskins, real estate investor. My mission, my ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. Each and every Friday, I get the opportunity to hang out with a winner. Jessica Siegel is an attorney in New York. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, welcome. Welcome. Happy to be here.
Yes, and we were going over our notes today. Which one you want to start at?
I love our Friday afternoons. It's a signal to me my week is over. I finish up our video and I'm done. That's why I'm always so happy.
I love it. I love it. So we were talking about. Go ahead. I want to hear about this one, Jay.
Oh
We
yeah,
start there.
so we usually start with like what happened this week. So
That's cool.
one of the things I was working on was trying to facilitate a private money deal for one of my clients.
Hmm.
So
For
I
private,
have
for
relate
our viewers that don't know
yeah.
what private money is, what is private money, Jay?
So basically, individuals decide to loan money out at terms similar to a bank, but without all the hassle of it being a bank.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic way to get access to money if you don't have good credit or you don't want to go through that lengthy bank process. Most
Yes.
private lenders can get you money in 7 to 10 days, and
OMG.
they'll take a lien position on the property, so that's their protection. They don't want your bank accounts. They don't care how much money you have. They're going to look at your credit score. They're going to see what property you own, what experience you have, and at the end of the day, is it a good investment? Because they always have to, if they're lending that money, they have to be willing to buy that property from you, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
Nice.
some are more conservative than others. Some are very, very careful who they loan to. Others could care less and they just hand out money left and right and play the odds.
Because they're gonna take the house back whether you perform or not.
Right, exactly. So I have relationships with a few different private money investors,
Hmm.
and I know some are more conservative than others. And so I was helping this client of mine. So like we're going to do the closing and help him with other some documents and different things, and then I'm helping connect him to a private money source.
Nice.
And then I get a fee for that, so it kind of works out for everybody. But what we realized was that this private money lender, who's pretty sophisticated, and this is all they do.
Hmm.
They are rather conservative, and they want to see if you're asking for the loan in the name of a limited liability company in the name of the LLC. They
Mm-hmm.
want to see that you are, they want to see your operating agreement. They want to see your filing statement that you're in good standing. Okay. So most people have these documents handy, not an issue. You should have your own operating
You
agreement and
better,
filing hand, but
better.
so we provided all that. And, we scheduled the closing and it was going to be a quick turnaround. And then all of a sudden the attorney for the underwriter of this private money wanted a certificate of good standing for the LLC. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can go onto the Secretary of State website and look them up and see that they're active. So this extra step really didn't make sense. But they were insistent on it. And the problem with that is good luck getting a document quickly from the state. So we needed to request an expedited copy of the certificate of good standing from
Can't
the
you just
state.
pay the $100 and you can't just print it out now from the website anymore?
No,
Mm.
no. They
Okay,
ask you to send in the request with money and then
mm,
they'll mail it to you. And so
gotcha.
we'll get it. And thankfully the it's because it's an auction. Thankfully the company that's running the auction is willing to give us a few extra days to close and they're not really pushing it. But it could have had, real serious consequences for my client if they couldn't get that money at the closing table on time.
Yeah, they could have
So my
lost their earnest money.
yeah, so my suggestion is if you're going to be doing deals
This is
with
grandma. No.
hi, if we're going to be doing deals
You good?
with your LLC, make sure you have your certificate of good standing on hand. Try
Keep it
and
on
keep an
file.
extra copy every year, if you're a frequent investor, every 6, 7 months, try and get one. If you're just doing it randomly, then maybe once a year. But if you're routinely doing private money loans out of an LLC, make sure you have your certificate of good standing kind of relatively recent.
You know what? I changed it. Yeah, I need. I was literally thinking about that today. I need to get mine updated. I can't remember if I paid it or not because I have to pay it every year.
Yes. Yep. In New York, it's every 2 years.
Okay.
Every state's different. But because what happens is if you request it and you haven't paid your registration, it's going to be noted on there too, and that's kind of embarrassing. So you want to stay current with all of those things. Yeah. So
So
that came up. So I kind of like this is what I do all week long is put out fires. So it's like all of a sudden this was urgent. How do we fix it? How do we deal with it? And we worked through it. And thankfully, I was able to finesse the couple extra days for the auction closing on, and you get through it. But that's what I
mhm.
love about what we do. There's always something different coming up every week.
I wonder why the attorney wanted a certificate of good standing. No doubt it would. They could have.
I don't. Yeah, they look it up. You see online, and I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. But that's why I'm saying like this particular private money lender is very conservative. They're very cautious. They're very careful of who they lend out to. They're a pretty big company, actually. The smaller mom and pop, private money sources who maybe are just investing out of their retirement account, maybe they're not asking for that. Maybe they're more flexible. They
Mhm.
tend to know, they tend to know personally who they're giving money to.
So he
So it just
sounds
kind of
like
depends.
to me he's almost like a walking the line between a private guy and a kind of a hard money guy. He kind of knows what he's doing.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Does he only? Do you
Yep.
know that he only lend to LLCs, or will he let you borrow
No,
personally too?
you could borrow personally.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll take that out. The guys I know, they're only really good certificate of satisfaction. I'm sorry,
Yeah, no.
certificate
You
of
can,
good
you
standing.
can, yeah, they'll lend to a private person, but if you're going to lend to an LLC, be mindful that your lender may want that document. And
Nice.
I know in New York, it takes time to get that, right? So that kind of feeds into what my article was this month. I did the second part of depositions for your
Yes,
newsletter,
I
and
can't
that
wait.
was that was really my main issue for investors is preparing for trial takes time. You have to be working on it for months before
Hmm.
you actually have to go to court, because getting documents
Gosh.
from the town, from the state, even from Verizon, if you have to subpoena cell phone records to document you've had conversations with people, it's going to take weeks to get it. So, you can't start 2 weeks before trial gathering your evidence. You're going to have a problem.
Does it cost money to
So,
get those records too?
yes, absolutely. Yep. And they usually charge per page.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
right, so if you're going to do a FOIL, a Freedom of Information Law request on a town to get documents,
Hmm.
like having to do with permits or zoning or deeds, they're going to charge you per page, and it's probably going to take them a few weeks to respond to you.
At the
And
county.
then, yes, at the county, even at the town, right? So, like for my action, I wanted to look at some of the town applications for permits and
Mm.
zoning. So I sent the FOIL request to the town. The town clerk receives it, has to get it to the person who's going to respond, and they add it to the
Lord.
pile that they have. Think about how many they must get every day. So it could take weeks to get a response sometimes.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I've
Man.
been lucky. Sometimes you're nice, you make nice, and you call up and you say, "Listen, this is urgent. Is there any chance, I can stop into the building and pick it up tomorrow?" But sometimes they'll laugh at you. Um, but sometimes,
You go back
they'll
home.
accommodate you.
They're laughing at you like, who do you think you are? Get out of
Yeah,
here. I got yeah. They do
yeah,
that same thing to me. Yeah, I'm not here to
yeah,
build your to
right.
help your business.
Um, yeah, and a lot of times, especially if people are denying that they've had communication, I like to get cell phone records,
Oh
right? So
Lord.
you can subpoena the cell phone provider to get a call history or a text log
Mm,
or any of that stuff. So that takes, forget it. You know what it's like to get records from Verizon? That could
I
take
don't.
months.
Really?
Yeah. So, so the first thing I would say when I meet with a client who's getting sued, I look at like a landlord, right? If you're getting sued and I want to help you, we're going to look at, okay, what is the evidence? First time, like what evidence do I need to get so that I could start planning immediately? How
Uh-huh.
long is it going to take me to get it? So what evidence do I need to help defend you? And
Um,
so for a lot of landlords, I find that a lot of landlords don't keep their documents like organized.
how you mean?
I'll ask them, can you bring a copy of the lease with you for our meeting? Or bring a copy of your insurance binder. And and it's like, oh, I don't have time to look for that. I don't know, it's buried somewhere in my basement.
Wow.
So I always say this, this is not a hobby. This is a business. So if you have people living on your property, that's a potential lawsuit at any
Hmm.
time. Keep your documents organized. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Get a Rubbermaid container and a couple of folders, but keep a system in place for each property, all the documents. You're going to want to have your deed, your insurance, your leases, your taxes, whatever it is. If you've done any work and you've gotten a permit or a certificate of occupancy, you want to keep all of that together in one place for the property. So, we're going to first look at, okay, to defend you, I need to know what kind of insurance coverage do you have? I need to know what kind of property you have. Is there a lease in place? I want to know, when was the last time you inspected the property? Is there any truth to the plaintiff's allegation? Um, so we kind of start at the end. I always say this, you start at the end. What's our goal? And then you
Hmm.
work back from there. To prove that this claim is not valid, how am I going to do that? So that's where the evidence and the documents come into play. And maybe we're going to hire an investigator to go out and take pictures or investigate the
Interesting.
person who's making the complaint. There's a lot that goes into it. I personally go to every scene, if my client's being sued over a particular piece of property, I'm going to want to go there and see it myself. How can I defend them if I don't even know what it looks like?
Did you go to the
So
one
that's,
where the deck fell, Jay? Did you go
I
there?
did, I did. I
Mm,
went multiple times. Now,
really?
because I was, I couldn't go on the property. I didn't have permit, but pretty much drove there and looked as much as I could from the free angles, I mean, like from the lawful vantage point. I was not allowed on the property, but I
Lawful
parked on
event.
the street. Yeah, I'm on the street. It's a public place, and I kind of walked around. And then Google Earth is fantastic. So Google Earth, you go in, you plug in the address, it gives you an aerial view, kind of like looking down
Mhm.
from above at the property, so that I could get an idea of the boundary line and where the deck was located. And then in my case, remember, the police department took photographs because somebody was injured. So the police arrived with the medics. I had to subpoena from the police department those photos.
Oh my goodness.
So that's how I got the best pictures. Now, I'll be honest with you, not every lawyer knows to think like that. I think that's all of those years as a prosecutor. I kind of think about who are all the different people that might have taken pictures, because the fire department usually takes pictures, police department takes pictures. The driver of the ambulance will typically take notes as to what people are saying. So I will always subpoena their notes from
Wow.
the call.
Is it
And
a
you get
file
great,
somewhere?
yeah, absolutely. They keep records of everything.
I
So you
can't
do
believe it.
you do a freedom of information law request for all this stuff.
What in the world?
And it takes time. But I tell you, that's how I walk in very prepared.
I'm sure
I
you
walk
do,
in very
Jay. I'm
prepared.
scared. I'm scared just talking to you. I'm so
Yeah.
glad I know you. I will go up against you.
Now, like on the flip side, if I want to sue a landlord because I've done, both. Uh, Also we've always talked about is look at what kind of assets they have, or even if I'm defending the landlord, it's really the same thing. I want to know what assets are in name, what's at risk.
Now, let me
Okay.
ask you, how are you going to find out? Let's take me, for instance. My stuff's in a trust. You coming after
Yeah.
me. Uh, what should we share that today? What is the first thing you're gonna do? I don't know. Is that something that we need to say?
Yeah, you know what? No, I mean, sure. The first thing is basically you're going to just go onto the county website
You can't
and just
find me.
look
I'm
by
nowhere.
name.
I'm a ghost.
Right. So you're not there. So then at that point I hire an investigator
Oh,
at that point to search the deed records, because it's going to trace back to you eventually. At some point your name will pop up.
I agree. I agree. But it's still
Yeah.
at the end of the
It takes
day,
work. It takes work and it takes money because the client has to be willing to pay the investigator.
the
Which
money.
gets me to my last point. When a client, I don't take every case. I'll be quite honest with you. I turn away a lot of people, or I try and counsel them into understanding. There's a cost benefit analysis. If
Okay.
if you can't figure out who owns it, or if there's insurance on it, or if there's any value in this property, if there's not enough value there compared to the injury, it's not worth bringing a lawsuit. It's
Hmm.
just not worth it. Now, I'll say this. I'm not saying get scared off because you can't figure out who owns it. I'm
Hmm.
saying I know who owns it. I know how much insurance coverage there is. I have to figure out, is your injury serious enough to warrant the expense of a lawsuit? Or do I
Gotcha.
just tell people, you're going to end up paying me more than you're going to get back? It's
Mm.
not worth it. And so a lot of times I have those conversations with people. They're angry, they want to sue, but realistically, you're not going to get anything out of it. And I have that same conversation with a landlord. Sometimes I'll say to them, you might as well just pay out. You're going to lose. There's no point in paying me thousands and thousands of dollars to defend you. You're in the wrong. You did have a faulty deck, or you did have a dangerous dog on your property. If I know you're going to lose, I'm going to recommend we talk settlement.
Mm.
My job is to mitigate damage for the lawyers, my client, excuse me, for the landlords that are my client,
Hmm.
and also assess, is it worth bringing a lawsuit for those injury victims that want to sue landlords?
So I'm curious about this investigator. I'm never. This dude. What
Oh,
is? What is?
I love investigators. No, they're usually retired police officers.
Hmm.
They know how to do a search by social security number or different things. They know how to look back at the history of the property. They know how to just sort of ask around in town too. Sometimes they'll sit in a car and just watch to see who comes to the property. I mean, there's so many things that they could do. They do surveillance to see, and then they also look to see, hey, who's paying the taxes, who's paying the water bill, different things like that. There's all kinds of searches you can do.
But that's gonna just give me a ballpark number if I want to go find out. I want to get started on this thing.
So an investigator typically wants about $1,000 to get started.
Get started.
Yeah.
That's
And,
not too bad.
no, it's really not. No. And the more, at that point, it then becomes like, should they then interview people? Don't get me wrong. Like somebody will knock on the door and say, hey, listen, who's the owner? Who's the landlord here? A lot of tenants will just give up their landlord. They don't know they're not supposed to say anything.
Hmm.
So they're not going to know the name of the trustee. They're going to know, oh, Chris, he's a great
That's
guy. They don't
true.
know,
That is a good point.
So a lot of times investigators have the finesse to just talk to people and get information.
If they can get to the house.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
But
I'm thinking of people who have been injured on a specific property,
yeah, they're gonna know that.
like
They're
that.
gonna know
Right, right. And now keep in mind, you're a smart investor with a lot of experience. A lot of new investors don't know to hide their name. The
protect.
typical lesson, yeah, most people think put it in an LLC and I'm fine. They
Mhm.
don't know to take it one step further and hide it in a land trust. That's a pretty advanced technique.
I got you. I got you.
So almost every person that I've had to sue or defend, it's just been their name. It wasn't
Oh
difficult.
my Lord.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
much can I scream this from the mountaintop, Jay?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's gonna be part of the liability conversation today. So people are still, Jessica, are you telling me that people are still buying houses as much as I have been screaming this for the past X number of years? They're still buying houses in their names?
Every day because they're getting better mortgages in their personal name and
Mm.
they would rather save a couple of dollars a month and take their chances on a lawsuit.
But what does the
That's
mortgage have to
really,
do? What's the mortgage have to do with whose name the house is in? I'm not even understanding that either.
if you are buying a traditional mortgage product with a bank and you
Hmm.
put the mortgage in your personal name, you get a better rate. Okay. If you're buying it in your LLC name, it's considered a commercial mortgage. Commercial products have higher interest rates and
Yeah,
have some other restrictive terms. Um, so um, you can't just, it's a different product is honestly the way it is.
so
You can still personally guarantee the mortgage if you're buying it in your business name. But
mhm.
if you like for example, Wells Fargo does not loan money to an LLC. They won't do a commercial product.
Or trust.
Right. Well, I don't know about the trust. I'm talking about like I have
Personal.
clients just right. They bought it in their personal name. They got a great deal, a great rate. Now they figured out I want to transfer the deed to my LLC to get liability protection. And Wells Fargo says, no, I don't offer that product. And now that you've done it, I'm recalling my loan. I don't
Mm,
offer that kind of product.
I see what you're saying. So we can't. I'm just thinking about the gazillion times that I've done this on the houses that I do have. What do you call it? Mortgage, traditional mortgages.
Yeah. Hmm.
I just take it from my name and transfer it into my trust. But I'm still in the line of the chain of title, but I don't own it currently.
Right. Exactly. And so that's what I mean by investigators. Investigators will follow the breadcrumbs back to figure
Hmm.
out who it is.
They're gonna find
But
it.
yeah, but that being said, that's really what I've sort of transitioned now that I've learned it myself. I'm telling myself, I was trained and I thought you buy it in your LLC or you buy it in your name, transfer it. This in New York, we don't have land trusts, so I was never
Hmm.
trained on that. And now I figured out after, getting some continuing education, talking to investors like yourself in different parts of the country, you can accomplish the land trust in a state that doesn't have that product by doing by being creative, legally creative. And in New York, we can do what's called a grantor trust. It's
Crypto
just
truck,
it's a
right?
yep, it's a revocable trust. Um, and and then the beneficiary gets, the beneficiary is the LLC. That's how you get the anonymous owner plus the, the liability protection of the LLC. They go together.
Oh man,
So it kind of alleviates that problem of alerting the mortgage company that there's been a transfer in the deed. And the law says that you can transfer your property into a revocable trust without penalty of the due on sale clause. Okay, so that's basically
Garden
the
St.
land.
Germain.
The land trust is a grantor trust. Every state, may call it something different, but they're all the basic same product. And the trustee is going to now, a lot of people will name themselves as the trustee because they want the bank and they want the insurance company, want everybody to think they're still involved. Get the deed recorded, get everything lined up, and then you can always change the trustee and assign the beneficial interest, and that gives you a little bit more anonymity on the books when people are looking for you.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't necessarily think my intent was never to hide from any type of obligation or liability in that case. Really, just to operate business so people aren't just looking for me every day. That was on my only goal, Not like I'm trying
right,
to run away from anything.
right, and that's the point of it is that you're still, you're still, people can find you. It's
Hmm.
just going to take some more work. And so what you're doing is trying to weed out the people that will just sue for any reason. Somebody has a legitimate reason to sue you, then they're going to find who the proper owner is, and the lawsuit will
They're
go
gonna
forward.
find
And you have insurance for that, and that's okay. But
there you
what
go.
we're trying to do is prevent people who just,
Frivolous.
are looking for a deep pocket. I like to say the frivolous lawsuit, right?
Looking for the deep
Yeah.
pocket. Yeah, don't come around here. Good gracious. Well, you're the
Yeah.
best why you're
Like,
the
for
expert.
example, when I had that big law, the personal injury action against the landlord,
Hmm.
I knew $1.1 million. He had no insurance. I
Hmm.
did a search of all of his assets. He had 7 different properties in his
In his
name,
name.
or in the name of an LLC that was registered with the Secretary of State in his name with
He's the
his
managing
address.
member.
So I just kind of followed the trail.
This dude is
Um, and
amateur.
and so all of those properties are subject to seizure to pay off this debt. Now they're
Wow.
worth nothing anyway, but that's how the investigation works.
So I'm seeing you drooling as you're just typing in his name and it's just and his company name. Everything's just popping right up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hmm. So the houses won't wait. We won't get into that. Okay, so we're still
yeah,
talking about the grantor. Well, we covered everything we were talking about the land trust. And I remember when we
yeah.
first chatted, when we first talked. I mean, I don't remember the time frame, but we were just trying to figure out this land trust thing in
Yep.
states that don't necessarily have the land trust statute.
Yes. Right. So New York is not a land trust state in the sense that, like, I know Virginia and Florida and a few other states, they have a specific statute for the land trust, and it makes it so convenient and easy to sell the property. It's just, you just assign the beneficial interest. But
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, a lot of states, just like New York, we like to complicate things.
Hmm.
And so I couldn't do it that way. I had to come up with another way to do it,
Gotcha.
basically. That's also legitimate. Um, and you just create the land trust, and it's different. The grantor trust is going to be different than, let's say, an estate planning traditional trust,
Mm-hmm.
because this grantor trust is going to say things like the trustee has the power to collect rent
Hmm.
and make repairs and sign
Yes.
leases. It's going to be specific to just this rental property. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm only going to put one rental property in each, or whatever, one property, however you're using it for,
Yep.
in each trust. And
Yes.
that's it. But they can all feed into the one LLC as beneficiary. But if for every deal you have, it's a cut and paste. You just create the new trust document.
That's over.
And then that's it. And then you're just dealing with recording the deed.
Yes, and where does that land trust document? People are so concerned about somebody seeing the land trust agreement itself.
Yes,
It should
right.
never.
So you can do, like in New York, you can do a memorandum of trust. And what that is, it just basically outlines who the trustee is, what the trustee's powers are, and that they basically have legal authority to do what they're doing, and without having to reveal the whole trust agreement.
Wow. That is so powerful. So you were not even giving the 9-page trust agreement to the attorney. We're just giving them the memorandum.
That's right. And you can walk into the bank and say, I want to open up a new bank account for this trust. Here's the memorandum of trust.
Nice.
And
So,
I had a bank asking me for the full trust document, and I said, no, you're legally not. I'm not required to give it to you. You don't need
wow.
it. There's confidential information in it. This document is showing you the authority to open this bank account.
Nice. So the trust up there,
Yeah.
Jay, does it have to have a tax ID or can we use the beneficiary's social?
The benefits.
Let's talk-
So if it's an individual, it's their social, right?
Whoever the
The
beneficiary.
Right, right. If you have an LLC as the beneficiary, then they're going to have their own tax ID number.
Gotcha. I love it. Class, if you're just joining us, it's Attorney Time with Jessica Siegel. She has been spitting fire, spitting fire today on Friday. Class, if you're just joining us, we're talking about trust, private money, and landlord liability. We're going to get into the Q&A section. But Jay, we're throwing some words around here that
Yes.
I'm thinking about myself in 2009, beneficiary, trustee, trust deed, memorandum, trust agreement. Somebody's mind might be doing like this.
Yeah.
Is this something that we can maybe in the future do maybe we'll do a class and kind of break it down for
Oh,
people,
yeah.
especially people in New York?
Absolutely. And then we can also offer the documents as
That'd be
well.
nice. Yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, round up family. What do you have on my questions in the Q&A? Anything else you got to leave, Jay, before we get to Q&A?
No, I can do Q&A. I'm just answering a text message real quick.
Oh, you good? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I know you're busy. Round up family. What do you have for Jessica today? Do you have anything? Hey, if not, we are gone. It's Jessica's favorite day. Frank, you got some capital you want to talk to me? Yeah, yeah. Give me a call when we get off this line. I'll be taking calls between. If we can talk between 3:50 and 4 would be nice because I have to. I got this new thing round up family where I'm actually going to be taking calls and we're working on Jessica's too. You can call me anytime between 4 and 5. Just go to call for. Call me for. Call me for. It's an app. Download this app. Call me for. It's an app. Just go to your phone and you can call me between 4 and 5 today. I'll be taking Q&A personally on anything, whatever you need. I might send you an email. Daniel was asking, what if his parents died, left in the house? Can he still transfer that into his land trust or into his trust?
Sure. Sure.
No difference. No
Right.
difference. Shaq buys houses. Hey, what would she? What Jessica? What do you recommend to someone who doesn't have a trustee? Doesn't have a trustee. She has one, but or he or she, I don't know, has one. What would a lawyer recommend? Okay, I guess who are you going to recommend to be their trustee, Jay?
Okay, so there's two ways you can do it. If you know, I you can make yourself the trustee.
I
Okay,
would
not
not
trying
do
to
that.
hide. I know. But I'm just
Okay,
saying,
I'm
if you're
sorry.
not
Yeah.
trying to hide who owns it, okay, you can always make yourself the trustee. The trustee is a very powerful person because they have the ability to sell the house. They have the ability to. They're going to be the ones that get noticed if there's a lawsuit. So you want to make sure it's someone that will call you and tell you, so that you don't get a default judgment against you. So if you want to hide who owns it and you don't want it to be yourself, then it would be an attorney can do it for you. I'm sure for a small fee, or you can pick a family friend or maybe a fellow investor, and you agree to be trustees for each other. But you need to understand how powerful that document is. They could sell the house out from under you legally. Okay.
Yeah,
And don't get me wrong, you can always try and sue and whatever, bring charges, but at the end of the day, that document gives them the power to do it.
yeah,
So um, if you're going to hire somebody to just take on that role temporarily for a fee, then you're going to want to make sure that you do that assignment of the new trustee real quick. Okay. So really, it should just be somebody you trust.
Gotta have somebody to trust.
Hmm.
Shaq, I was gonna say, I mean, you didn't ask me, but I'm like, you gotta get, if you can't find a trustee around our family, you need to find some better friends. I tell everybody that. If you don't have anybody you can
Yeah,
trust, you need to get some better
yeah.
friends. Daniel, hey, wants to know what's the worst case scenario if the trustee dies, Jay? Which is, everybody thinks
Right.
that's the end of the
So,
world.
right. No. So when you prepare the document, there's two things you can do. You can always have a backup trustee listed as successor
Successor.
trustee,
Yep.
right? You could have that right there. Or the document gives the beneficiary the power to appoint a new trustee. So you
Yeah.
just assign somebody else. And you just have to keep a paper trail. That's all.
Well, this is a document. It says
Hmm.
I, Chris Haskins, appoint Joe Blow as new trustee, and it's over.
That's it. That's right.
It's over. I think it's so ridiculously simple that we try to complicate it, Jay.
Attorneys absolutely complicated for no reason. It is much, once you broke it down for me, it is so much simpler than I think people realize.
Yeah, when we were
Yeah.
talking about it, I saw your brain going,
Yeah.
computing all this stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm not doing something. Chris
No.
Monroe, Chris Monroe, he wants to know, Jessica, is there a place that he can go to find out which states allow an LLC to be the trustee on the land trust?
I'm sure if you Googled it, you would find out. I mean, a company can be a trustee,
Yeah,
so that I don't know that it's state specific.
I didn't know that either. Man,
I
that's something
think,
new.
I think, I think I think a company can be a trustee in any state, but I don't know. I'm sure if you
Yeah,
Google it, you can find the answer to anything.
that's a good question, Chris. Always thinking.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Roundup family, hit the thumbs up, please, for your boy putting in work with Jessica this Friday. We could be out in the sun today. We're in here working for you. We're
That's
working.
it. That's interesting though. If you name the LLC as the trustee and then the
And LLC. And
LLC
LLC. Doesn't have to be the
and
same. Go ahead.
LLC, right, as the trustee, and then the LLC has an agent listed on Secretary of State website and for service of process, you are completely hidden then.
Well, that would
Your
be
name, yeah. So that's actually pretty creative idea.
absolutely. So we got ABC LLC as trustee, XYZ LLC as beneficiary.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
Well, this thing can go so just that's why I'm saying, Jay, you can just do this. You can just layer it to the hill. You can layer it to
Yeah,
the hill. But the thing is, how are you gonna unwind it if something happens to you?
right.
You
Well,
know?
that's where the traditional estate planning comes in, which is critical.
Mm,
Like a lot of people focus as a real estate investor on protecting that their properties,
yeah,
but the second piece has to be, okay, now I own all these assets. How am I protecting my spouse and children so that they can inherit it and not just everything gets lost to the government?
asset protection, estate planning,
Right,
estate planning.
right.
Wow, so important. Well, you know what's weird when you're starting out, Jay? It's like, man, shit, I'm just trying to get something to protect. I don't have nothing to
Yeah,
protect.
right.
I have nothing
Well,
to
when
protect.
you get to that level, then you start shifting your focus
That's
to how can I make sure everything I've worked so hard for
yeah.
isn't lost to estate tax when I pass.
Mm, yeah, that's the one thing I love about trust too, because it goes. You don't even have to change the deed.
Right.
Okay, David Thompson. I don't even think they got that one, Jay. You don't even have to change the deed, Roundup family. The deed stays in place.
That's right.
David, is there a way to set up a bank account for a trust, Jessica, without personally identifying the info?
Well, I don't understand what personally identifying the info is. Like when you open up the bank account in the name of the trust, they're going to want the trustee to open it.
Mm-hmm.
And the trustee has to use his either tax ID, social security number, something to identify them. The government and the banks, you always have to have somebody identified.
Yeah.
After the Patriot Act, basically after 9/11,
Yep.
new rules, you have to be an identified person. So
You
the
can
bank
get a.
account has to be opened in the name of the trustee or, like
I've
that.
seen people. I've seen. No matter of fact, attorney tried to get me to get a tax ID for the trust.
Hmm.
I just didn't want to do it. But you,
Yeah,
David, you
it's
can get
not.
a tax ID.
Yeah, it's
But
not required, but you can.
yeah,
Right.
you can get one. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it, but you can. I mean, David, this thing once again. You're just layering down. You got 20 tax IDs, you got trusts, and you got all these houses, and then I don't know, Jessica. I mean, it just seems like it'd be so much.
Yeah, it's just kind of an unnecessary. I'll say this: in most cases, it's not
Most cases.
necessary.
Yeah.
If you and your attorney and your accountant decide you should do it, so be it. And that's the thing. Like we talk on Fridays, sort of in generalities.
Hmm.
This is more for just informational purposes. This does not replace a consultation with
Yes.
an attorney or an accountant in your particular state with your specific issue.
Yes.
So.
Frank, hey Frank. He's saying that an attorney told him there's no land trust in Maryland. I don't know that. I'm not
Okay,
sure.
so that may be true, and because there is so you can go back to that attorney and ask him about a revocable grantor trust, and it is basically the same function as a land trust, but it's going to be called a grantor trust, a revocable
Hmm.
grantor trust, and then they can pretty much do the same thing for you with that document.
I
And
love
I
it.
would recommend you go to an estate planning attorney that is familiar with trusts and real estate investors and not just an attorney who does a closing. They're not going to have these documents.
Nice. I love it. Well, that's why we talk to you on Fridays.
Yeah, absolutely.
Body Thug. Hey, Body. These names. Can your LLC be your trustee? We just covered that one.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I can.
I've done it, but because what I've done in the past year, LLC is a trustee, you're signing as managing member.
Yes.
I mean, it's just so, once again, you can layer it to the hill. Jason, hey, Jason, pick me. Got a property in your name. That's not bad. I mean, what should I do to disclose it from NOS? Jason, I've got a property in my name. What should I do to hide it? We're just talking about protecting it, my friend. You can't hide anything. From a lawsuit, should I just get a certain type of insurance that covers me from a lawsuit?
Okay, so the short answer is yes. I always encourage landlords to get a really good insurance policy. Do not skimp on liability insurance. If maybe your property is not worth that much and you don't want to splurge on hazard insurance to protect your own asset,
Hmm.
fine, but never skimp on liability coverage in terms of people suing you for injuries or hurt or fire or damage, whatever. So that's the first step, and then the second step is consider an LLC. LLC gives you liability protection, and then the trust helps you kind of. We're using the word hide, but
Protect.
it shields you, right? It's kind of
Shield.
it makes it more difficult to figure out who the owner is. So you
Yeah.
layer the trust, the LLC, and the insurance. I call it like the tripod of protection.
Try. I like that. I like that, Jay. Arbo. I can't read these names. Come on, round up. Give me some names to work. If your username is something crazy, type your name in here. When getting insurance on a sub two property and the property is in a trust, excellent. You're doing it the right way.
Mhm.
When getting insurance, is your trustee along with the seller's name on the new policy? Is your trustee along with the seller's name on the new policy?
I defer to you on
Wow.
that because I've never actually done that. I don't. What do you recommend?
Yeah, for me, it all depends. If you got a lot of meat on the bone, I get a new policy, keep it in place, pay it, keep the existing policy in the seller's name. Only one of them are going to pay off when the house burns down, and you just make a claim on yours. You just keep paying the one for the seller. If there's no meat on the bone, just add your name. I would add my LLC name. I'm trying to think what I did. I add my name on my personal name. I don't think it necessarily matters. You got the trust. Hmm. I never put the trustee's name on it. I always put the beneficiary's name on it. R. Bowles. Chris, Google has not shown. He's been trying to find out about that LLC thing. Sorry. Paris saying that he just closed a deal in Maryland in his land trust, Frank. So Maryland does allow land trusts. Unless the attorney would mess it up. Can that be possible? Can the attorney close on a land trust and the state not allow land trust, Jessica?
Yes. Yeah.
So I
But
can't say that.
honestly,
Huh?
Well, the clerks, it depends. The county clerk may reject it if it's
Well,
not
it's not
titled
going to say, they're not
properly.
going to say land trust on the deed. It just says trust.
Well, listen, I've seen the stuff that I've
That's
seen
right. Oh, yeah.
attorneys
It could
do. I
mess it
mean,
up. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'll tell you, you can Google like this, like which states allow for land trust, and there's like seven of them or something. And so if you're not in one of those states, then you would do it as the grantor trust, and
So is
that's
that
what the
by default?
document should be.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to physically call it that on the front page of the document.
But they don't even see the
Yeah.
document. They see the document goes in your file cabinet. The courthouse never sees the land trust agreement. No, it's not like you're going to go down to the courthouse with this thick land trust agreement and show it to them. You're going to show them the
Yeah,
deed. You're going to show them the
that's
deed.
true.
Well, the land trust doesn't. I mean, the courthouse doesn't care. They don't even comprehend. They want to see the deed, right? I mean, why
Yeah.
would they care
Hmm.
about anything but the deed? I'm asking you, Jay.
No, yeah, no, I think you're right. I'm just trying to think it through.
If I go to the courthouse, they're going to be like, "What is it? What is it? Get this out of here." I mean, they can't.
Right.
I haven't yet to see when I'm
I,
down there.
I'm thinking more, I'm coming from the point of view of if there's ever a lawsuit, if it's ever litigated, if there's ever a
Yeah, that could
dispute
be yeah,
over ownership,
that'd be a problem.
you want the documents to be proper so that they're not
No doubt.
void. It doesn't void the sale or the transfer or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always
Oh
kind
yeah.
of think of it from that perspective more
Mhm.
than just the recording side of it. But you're right. The clerk never even sees the document.
I don't. Yeah, they don't. They're not going to know what the hell it is when you show up. They're going to be like, "What do you want me to do with this?" Because they're used to seeing
Right.
the deed coming over. We got one more. Paris? Hey, Paris. Should you keep yourself or your LLC as the beneficiary, Jessica?
That's up to you personally. You could do it either way. Traditionally, you're going to recommend the LLC be the beneficiary because that's where the liability protection is. I typically only have a person named as beneficiary if it's more of if one, the property's in their name, but two, if it's more of a traditional estate planning tool.
Gotcha.
If you're trying to keep the liability protection, then the LLC has to be your beneficiary.
That's for the asset protection piece of the trust.
Yes.
But still, for the estate planning, Jay, I mean, if you move on to the afterlife, then the next person they can't own your LLC. It's going to go to the successor beneficiary. Correct?
Right. Right.
Hmm. You still when you move on to the afterlife, the house and the trust would change. The trust owner would change ownership, not the deed. The deed will stay in place.
Right. Because what you do is you take your LLC shares over here and you put them into your estate planning trust
Hmm.
so that when you pass, everything, business and personal, ends up in this trust box over here.
Gotcha. Nice. I love it. I can tell you've done this a few times. Paris, Maryland will close according to the verbiage of the deed. They just want it uniform for recording purposes via recorder. So I get Paris is telling me he just closed one last week. So all right,
Okay. Good.
round up family. This is it. Friday, attorney time. Final thoughts for today, Jay. Drop it on them.
Oh, oh goodness.
So much, so much, so
I
much.
know. Okay. So my final thoughts is pick up a new personal development book this weekend
Okay.
and do some reading because I keep coming back to this too. Like the only way I've grown personally, learning about how to be a better attorney or a better investor is from watching other videos, reading other books. So I always like 15, 20 minutes a day give to yourself to do something to learn something new.
Wow.
I really believe in that very strongly.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, great. Round up family. Make sure you subscribe to your boys channel. We are pouring massive value into you and hit the like button and share this content with any other real estate investors that could possibly benefit from
Yes.
talking to an attorney for free. Yeah.
And anybody, I try and go back in after in the comments and stuff. Anybody has any questions, feel free to email me or I'll
Yep.
try and go back in and answer. Have a great weekend.
All right. See you next Friday, Jay.
All right, take care.
Bye, guys. Bye.